Record. Okay, we're recording now and everybody has agreed to be recorded. Yay. So this is our Empathy Cafe, and the purpose of this cafe is to support the Extinction Rebellion community and with empathy circle practices, and to develop our XR empathy circle work group, as well as to build an empathic culture. So the outline of our meeting is we're going to go for 2 hours, and we're going to start with the short participant introductions. We're going to review how the empathy circle works, and then we'll go into breakout rooms. And it looks like we have about enough for 2 breakout rooms or actual empathy circles. And then we'll come back about 15 minutes before the end of the time into this full group here, and we'll do a little debrief about the experience. So with that, I think we're ready to jump in. Carolina, do you want to kind of have people introduce each other? I'm going to create the breakout rooms, and we did have Veronica join us. Are you there? Just to.
We don't hear you, Veronica.
There's a few buttons to push if it's the first time you've come to this group, like me. So she may figure it out, or they may figure it out.
Okay, so maybe let's do short introduction, just your name, place you calling from, and I will try to modulate that. My name is Karolina Kubiak. I am a member of Extinction Rebellion in Poland. I'm calling from Gdańsk, north of Poland. And maybe I ask people around my screen. So the next person is Zofia.
Hi. Hi, I'm Zofia. I'm also from Poland, from Warsaw. I am part of XR group there. And yeah, what else?
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. And Bill, would you introduce yourself? You are muted. You are muted.
Sorry, was that me?
No, me.
Oh.
Bill.
Me,
Bill.
Right? Okay. Bill and Gil. All right. Okay, so my name is Bill. I'm a retired special education teacher. I'm also in Northern California.
Thank you. Gil Davis, please.
Hi, Jill. Yeah,
Jill.
I live in UK, in Much Wenlock, Shropshire. I'm a member of Extinction Rebellion, Shrewsbury, and Christian Climate Action.
Okay, thank you. Marta. You are muted, Marta.
Hi, I'm Marta, living in Cork, Ireland, part of Extinction Rebellion here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And Anne and Jordan, please.
Yeah, I'm Anne. I live in West Somerset, which is in the southwest of England. And I'm involved in Extinction Rebellion across the region and the nation.
Okay, thank you. And H Cube.
Hi, I realized I probably could have put a different thing there. My name is Heather Helen Hale, which is why it's H cubed.
Okay.
For the math nerds out there. I am a health coach and a massage therapist, and this is my maiden voyage with XR and all of that. So I'm excited. I also have no idea what I've just gotten myself into.
Okay. And Edwin.
Oh, and I'm in Georgia, USA.
Okay. Helen. Your name is Helen.
Oh, Heather.
Heather.
Helen is my middle name. Lots of H's.
Okay. Heather. Okay, thank you. And Edwin?
Yeah, Edwin Rutch from the San Francisco Bay Area, part of the XR group here in the area, as well as the XR Empathy Circle work group. And yeah, what was the other thing? I don't remember.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. So this is everyone, and as I understand, everyone agree to be recorded here. Is anybody okay? So yeah, please, Edwin, what we want to do next?
Would you give the introduction of how to do the empathy circle practice? Just just a question. Has everyone seen the video by chance? The introduction? I'm just curious. Anybody not seen it? No. Okay.
I've not seen it. Sorry.
No problem. Just checking. It's a good introduction, but we'll give a kind of a longer introduction. But Carolina will just give a short introduction now. So.
Okay. Okay. So empathy circle is kind of structural dialogue that let everyone to speak and be heard. This is the idea of empathy circle. And the best number of participants is about 3 to 5 participants. That gives everybody a chance to speak many times and being heard many times. And we have 3 roles in this dialogue: speaker, active listener, and silent listeners. So the first person becomes a speaker and selects the person who he or she wants to speak. This person will be the active speaker. And the speaker, this person will be the active listener. And the speaker begins to speak, and the listener sometimes making pauses to let active listener to reflect what they just heard. After some time, after some allotted time, they stop. The idea is to be heard by active listener, and there is the moment when active listener becomes a speaker and chooses another person to be his or her active listener. And that's how the cycle goes from first we are the speaker, then first we are active listener, then we are a speaker, and we chooses another person who become our listener and then become a speaker. So a few tips for speaker and active listener, how to find yourself in this dialogue. First thing, when you are a speaker, you can choose whoever you want. It's good to give chance everybody, so everybody has the chance, but if you want choose particular person, it's your choice. You always feel free to choose whoever you want. And when you sharing your thoughts, your feelings, whatever you want to share for a particular topic or whatever is alive to you, it's good to do pauses. So your active listener has opportunity to explain how he or she understands you, what you just said. And this is kind of exchange between speaker and active listener. Speaker says something, active listener reflect that back. When you are a speaker, try to check if the listener understand you correctly as your intention is. You may do corrections, add something, change, use different words, as long as to the moment you feel understood to your satisfaction. And we all usually do that for allotted time, for example, 5 minutes. And after that, we try to, there is a turn for active listener who become a speaker and chooses another person. When you are active listener, you may ask your speaker for pausing, okay? Because if there is a lot of information, it might be difficult for you to reflect that back. Try to use your own words and explain how you understand what you just heard from the speaker. The very important thing is to refrain from asking questions, analyzing, diagnosing, advising, or even sympathizing with the speaker. This is the time for the speaker to be heard. You will have your turn right after that. So this is the moment when you focus on what speaker is saying and trying to show how you understand this person. This is the speaker time, so to speak. Don't refrain from any judgment or diagnosis, just try to reflect back what you heard. Silent listeners stay present to this dialogue, observe it, and check if speaker and active listener the exchange between them sticks to the steps of our dialogue. It's good to observe also how our focus is changing from the situation when we are active listener to the situation when we are just silent listener. It's good to observe how it changes. But the main thing for silent listeners is to observe the dialogue and to monitor if it sticks to the step. So more or less, this is it. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, Bill?
Yeah.
I just want to say that sometimes, especially for new people, you kind of have a little performance anxiety. Am I remembering and things like that? And I just want to reassure people that the object is not a competition as to who can, listen longer or anything like that, but it's actually to form a bridge, a communicative bridge. And it takes both people to do that. So as long as you're opening, to do that, you're really doing very well. So just... Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just say once we get into the groups, it's pretty easy. You just sort of observe how it works and you'll pick it up quite easily, I think. So we're going to go into 2 groups. Bill, I'll put you and Carolina in one, and can you do the recording?
Do you want me to do the recording?
Yeah, if you do the recording.
Okay.
And
can we check Veronica, because he didn't say any word.
Veronica, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Are you okay with being recorded?
She's muted, according to me.
Yeah, you're muted.
Okay. Veronica, you were muted.
Now, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's good. Then I'll put you in.
I don't want to be recorded.
You don't want?
Yes, and I don't want.
Okay, then I guess I'll put her in your group. Let me just a second. Veronica. Sorry, just takes a... had to shift the rooms around a little bit. Okay, so I guess you won't be recording in your room, Bill. So just,
Right. No recording.
Okay.
Got it.
So we're going to go into the breakout rooms, and so let me just get us going right now. I think we have everyone. So it'll be, it says you can join the rooms. Yeah.
On mute. Oh, I just turned my, I think you're on mute, Anne. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, Matt, Heather.
How are you?
So just the two of us.
Should be 5 of us actually in this group.
Okay.
So yeah, so we're going to get started. We're going to have our topic, which I forgot to mention, is just your thoughts and feelings about and fears and hopes about Extinction Rebellion and the global crisis. Or you can talk about anything that's alive for you, with your really burning issues. And we're going to have 5-minute turns. So you speak for 5 minutes to the listener, and then I'll also do the timekeeping. And then once the 5 minutes is up, it becomes the listener becomes the speaker, and they select who they want to speak to. So to get started, if somebody would speak to me, I can sort of model the process. And if you can mute if you're not speaking. So maybe Marta or Zofia, since you have experience with this, if you could start to just take your 5 minutes to speak to me, and I can model it for the others. Oh, yeah.
I can go.
Okay, great, Martha.
So thank you, Edwin. Yeah, it's a big thing. Hopes and fears about XR can mean different things to different people. It brought a lot up for me to do with Extinction Rebellion as an organization, but also more in general, my hopes and my many fears about the future. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing there is it's a big topic, and that there's a lot of things are coming about Extinction Rebellion itself as an organization, as well as climate issue in general. So kind of there's 2 different areas.
Yeah. So this week, with the fires in Brazil, and with all the recent news, it's a bit difficult to get out of bed in the morning sometimes, and to cope with that. And so throwing myself into XR is a way of coping with that. So I have in that sense, I feel I have big hopes for XR and what it can achieve, because I need to.
So you're feeling sounds like some anxiety about things like the Amazon fires burning, and it's like hard to get up out of bed because of that. But also you're feeling some hope from XR and what's happening there.
Yeah, so we had a meeting, we had an activist meeting yesterday here in Cork, and we had maybe 10 new people, and some of them were from the youth group, which was really nice. Every week we have, because there's a separate youth group, but they come to our meetings, just 1 or 2 of them every week, and it's nice. It's really inspiring to feel this, like, different generations coming together. So I hope that XR manages to do that, to actually bring people together, and even people I might not get in contact with in my normal life. I'd be very left wing, and now I actually have people that have very different opinions from me on most other issues, and yeah, so that makes me hopeful.
Okay, so you're feeling some hope because you had this XR meeting, and there was a lot of young people, and that you're just meeting a lot of different types of people, and even people who you had different sort of opinions with, politically being more on the left, that you're just seeing how all these people are coming together, and those are some things that are giving you some hope.
Yeah. On the other hand, with the fears, I suppose for me, the XR principles are really important. The principles and the values was one of the things that attracted me to the movement, because I felt I could trust it, you know, because it's based on all these, you know, autonomy and no blaming, no shaming, all these things. And of late, I've become very aware of other movements, you know, like DGR and the movements that are happening on the fringes of XR. And I suppose I have a bit of fear around that. How is XR going to be able to every time stay non-violent? Because I trust in XR to do that. But there's a lot happening, you know, other movements, and as situations get worse, you know, as the crisis gets stronger, I have a bit jackals, you know, going on about all these other movements, and that it might not be nonviolent forever.
So what I'm hearing is some trust in the XR, in the foundational principles, but you see these other groups that you're having some concerns about that might not follow those principles of nonviolence, and if things get sort of tense or stressed, that you have concern of what might happen with those groups.
Yeah, that's it. And I think in general, like I feel anxious, you know, like my chest feels quite crooked when I think about that, and it's a bit this thing of like, who would I be as a human being in a world of scarcity? You know, would I be able to remain empathic and kind? And I feel one of the things that comes up as well is I feel quite happy not to have children, because I don't need, you know, I can just worry about myself rather than, but yeah, there are fears there that I must, you know, acknowledge so I can carry on doing the work.
Yes, I'm hearing some anxiety and fears. One is if there is more a sense of scarcity, can you maintain your empathic presence in that, in a sense of I don't know if it was relief that you don't have children, because then you're just taking care of yourself and you're not having to, you know, to worry about them.
Yeah. In this space, last thing that comes to mind is, you know, I just realized recently I haven't been in touch for a long time with one of my best friends. You know, I come from Portugal, so that's where she is. And I think I realized, I didn't know why, I was avoiding it. And I suppose I realized now, you know, she's totally unaware of all this climate stuff, and she's got 2 small girls. And I suppose I realized that one of the reasons I haven't been in touch is because I probably can't talk to her and not have some of the conversations about all these things that are happening in my life and I care about. But in a way, I find it's a bit blissful that she doesn't know about it. So yeah, I'm a bit conflicted about that.
Okay, so you have a good friend from Portugal that you haven't seen for a while, and in a sense, you're glad you haven't been talking with her, because you would be talking about all these concerns of yours, and it would be kind of maybe might upset her. Is that it? Because and you don't really want to upset her. She can just be blissful in how she is. I don't know if I quite got that, but.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, feel heard. So, okay, then I'll speak to Sophia. Yes, you're muted. Yeah, that's one concern that comes up for me about XR is exactly what Martha was saying about the concerns about sort of an authoritarian, you know, people taking over. You know, I'm very sensitive to that. Like, you know, I do find the principles, you know, I can agree with the basic principles, but I have concern of these more authoritarian type of activist groups taking over.
Hear that you agree with, can you hear me?
Yeah, a little bit louder. If you can.
Okay. So I can hear that you are you agree with the principles of XR, but in the same time you see that in front of those principles, like XR is inviting, is open to wide variety of people and groups, and that can also cause problems because they can actually use the platform, take it over, and use it for their own purposes.
Yeah, and I think there's the authoritarian aspect, and the authoritarian is where you shut people down, right? It's like you don't give people a voice. It's like we have this idea of what we want. We're going to kind of shut down voices. So I have, I'm kind of sensitive to that everyone has a voice, and that it doesn't become sort of an us versus them kind of a mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can understand that you feel anxious that they might take over the spirit, and also like put upon us or upon you also their purposes and their methods of dealing with stuff in an authoritarian way, and you're very sensitive to this kind of way of thinking, because it's for you it's important that everybody has voice.
Yeah.
As long as we can, as long as it's possible, everybody should have the space and time to speak.
And that's one of the reasons I like what we're doing here with the empathy circle. It's a space to give everyone a voice and to make sure that everyone is heard. And I would really like to see sort of a practice like this be part of the XR meetings, where there's a lot of chance for people to talk, not just go into activism, but there's got to be a really strong foundation where everyone has a chance to talk, and the empathy circle is one practice that I think is very, very good for that.
Mm-hmm. So you hope that this empathy circles can be like a field work, or like I don't know, some kind of ground, like a basis
Mm-hmm.
for but not only for the activist purpose, but just as a like new way of building a culture on which we can grow.
Yeah, so I could imagine like meetings could start off with empathy circles for, you have small groups, everyone, listening to each other and kind of learning these practices. If there's conflict, you can say, well, let's bring it into an empathy circle. So you've got that practice, as well as a demand, like a lot of the, you can reflect that back first. I got more.
So I can see that you see the empathy circle as a tool, something very practical that we can take and use if any conflict occurs. We can just apply it and solve the conflict, or just hear it out. Right?
Yep. And also that it becomes one of the demands. So if there's a demand to speak with the politicians, that it's not just like, hey, you politicians, you're terrible, do what we tell you to do. It's like one of the demands is we would like an empathy circle with you. So I would like to set up here in Berkeley where we do like a XR empathy cafe for dialogue. But one of the demands is that we want the city council, the mayor, to take part in an empathy circle. So it's not just blaming and shaming them, but saying there's this empathy deficit. We need to dialogue with each other. Yeah.
So it's not only about having this nice dialogue and nice atmosphere of conversation here among activists, but it's a practice that should be spread out, and we can use it also to have a dialogue with politicians, with people that we have demand for, or we also can have something against them, but it's a place to invite them, and it might be a place in future to invite them and have this kind of open conversation.
Mm-hmm. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
So my mind is...
So first you select who you want to speak to, maybe Heather or Anne.
Yes, Heather, please. Can you be my active listener?
Absolutely.
So my mind is wandering a little bit today. I think it's not totally with this XR things actually, because so many other things are happening right now in my family life, and that's why I'm just. Marta said that it's sometimes hard to get up from bed and proceed and like go on and still have the hope and stuff. And I feel like these days, this past few days, I was getting up with some kind of, I don't know, suspended reality. Like everything is actually okay. You have things to do. Like right now are more urgent than climate crisis.
So you've got two things on your mind. One is the climate reality, which has been going on for a while and has been present for you for a while, and then some more things have become more urgent and pressing for you, and that's what's at the front of your mind today.
Mm-hmm.
Some family challenges.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking right now, how can I make a link between those two things? Like, how can I get them together so that I don't live, so that I don't feel that I live in two different realities, but in one.
You want to integrate those strong feelings.
Actually, I tried doing that when I was speaking with my sister today on the phone. She is in London. We haven't heard each other for a long time, actually. And after discussing some family stuff, we started talking about the climate change and what can we do? What is our what is our scope of what we as individuals can actually do.
So kind of reconnecting with your sister offered an opportunity to talk about it, and then maybe brought up some lack of clarity around what can, we as individuals do.
Yeah, it's this climate thing is such a big thing. I think maybe sometimes by force I'm trying to see things around me through this lens. Like I don't want to leave it alone, so that's why I'm just doing everything to like somehow invite it to any topic in my life. I don't know if it's a good strategy, because then I'm overburdened with this. I don't know. Maybe I should. I don't know. This is like a big question mark.
There's lots of questions, and I'm hearing a little doubt in your mind. Like, is the climate change lens, does that serve you to look through everything through that lens? Is that right? Yeah. And what would it be like to do it differently? Or is this the right thing to do for me?
How far should or can I go with that, with these lenses? Like if I'm thinking right now about my grandmother and her situation, her life story, is it helpful? Is it okay to also somehow try to like think about her biography, her story, her life through this lens of what we as people do to our planet and to our environment? Family as an environment, right? What do we do with other people in this environment? How do we treat our resources in this family, right? Do we respect each other's limits in this environment as well?
So in a sense, it's not just a lens, it's also a metaphor for your family life. And and how does that impact how we think about family and how you're thinking about family?
also Martha said like that it just rang a bell. That's why I'm repeating it. Martha, you said something about children, like that it's okay not to worry, like not to worry about children that you don't have. Maybe it's better not to have children because there will be too much problems around their future. So I don't know if I'm paraphrasing it right, but I just felt in that moment when you said that, I just felt I would really love to have this kind of worry, you know. I don't know, it's it's scary, maybe it's egocentric, I don't know, but I'd like to have children to worry about.
So there's a conflict a little, I think. I don't know if conflict's the right word, so throw another one at me when I'm done. Where your heart wants to have children, it sounds like, and there's, you know, climate reality and how do those go together, and right now you're feeling you're having feelings about that want to have children in spite of the worry that would go along with it. I'm not sure if, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Really.
You're welcome.
I feel hard.
Thank you.
So now you select maybe Anne, who hasn't spoken yet.
Why don't we keep going in the circle? Sure, Anne. Hi. You're still a wee bit muted.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. So this is my first XR experience, as I mentioned, and I did a very, very quick perusal of the website, so I wasn't completely clueless. The little bit of reading that I'd done really resonated. I definitely feel the weight that kind of Marta is referenced, and Zofia, am I saying that right, Zofia? Zofia, on a daily basis. And one of the big challenges that I have is I don't see other people around feeling it, and it's on some level it's mind-boggling, and on another level I totally get that I personally have some space in my life to hold this existential crisis type of feeling, and some extra energy. I'm privileged to have that. And yet there are people in my life, like family members, who are very caring, wonderful human beings, and it's not something they think about on a regular basis. And I'm trying to make peace with that and trying to figure out how to, I should pause.
Okay, should I have interrupted? I was
Yeah, you can. If the person is saying a lot, then you're starting to lose the thread. You can say, "Oh, can I just reflect that?" So that's
okay.
Totally okay.
I won't be insulted if you pause.
Yeah, I hear you're saying that you feel on a daily basis some of the things that have been referenced by Marta and Sophia, and that you have some space to hold this in your life at the moment, that you have this conflict or kind of not conflict, but are confused about people who are dear to you, that you respect and you value, who don't seem to have that awareness or be thinking about these issues. And so a kind of discord in yourself about that. Some of what I've heard. I think you've said a lot, and I probably missed some things. So.
No, it's a great summary. Yeah, there's just like, all right, how do I make peace with that? And then how do I keep the right and most useful energy within me to carry out my efforts now, perhaps in the context of XR, to address climate change. And yeah, because how I feel if I read too much, then I lose energy and I'm not moving forward in the way that I want to move forward. But if I don't read enough, then I can maybe lose my fire a little bit.
So I'm hearing that you know, you're wanting to keep your energy and be living or acting on what you want to do, but your energy for that can be drained by, you didn't use the word of overwhelm, about how much there is from what you're reading and understanding, but at the same time the reading and understanding fires you as well, but finding the balance that works for you so you can be living your action or what you want to do.
Yeah, that balance is a challenge, and honestly I feel like I'm navigating that on a daily basis, and maybe it's a weekly basis that is, I feel like a reasonable goal is with a weekly basis where, okay, one day maybe I just drown myself in it and kind of swim in those feelings, and then, so not drown, more like swim, and then maybe not move forward with, I'm working on a project that will directly but indirectly address this on some level, and then in the next day I create space and I don't swim in it, and I get traction with my project.
Interesting kind of balance there that you're finding towards, of being like swimming in the feelings of it, and then you find yourself some days not like that, and you make progress, or you have traction with the projects and things that you're doing, but it sounds a little like you're not quite in control of when that's going to be. Sometimes you are and sometimes you aren't.
Yes, I'm on that river. And absolutely, I'm not strategically choosing those days. They're kind of, and I'm trying to decide whether that's, I need to just keep trusting that as long as I'm making progress and staying connected, or if I need to do it more strategically.
So you're wondering which way you should go with that, whether you should be more strategic and plan, or go with it. And it sounds like generally you're going with that, but because overall you're making progress. But it sounds like you're considering what the best way to go forwards with that is, getting that balance or control, making the decision of what you're going to do and just doing it. But you're staying connected as it is at the moment, and feeling how you're feeling about it, as well as using the energy when you have it to go forward with your project.
Yeah. Yes, still mulling that one over. Thank you. I feel very heard.
Thank you.
So now you choose, and again, we just keep going for the next 45 minutes or so.
Okay. Has anybody not been an active listener?
Oh, no, who spoke for it? Yeah, Sophia hasn't listened, right? You started.
I listened to you, Edwin.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, you start.
Yeah.
Martha
So
started.
Marta started. You
Marta.
listen to Marta.
Marta. So Marta, will you be my active listener, please? Okay. Phew. Oh. 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 Phew. Gosh, it's interesting hearing everybody what they're saying and the bits that resonate with what's happening with me in my life and my issues. I find that I'm having times when I'm really engaging. I think I have a project that I'm doing. I kind of got really stuck into, which is making lots of flags for the principles for Extinction Rebellion, and I'm kind of very much back on track at the moment at making that happen. But I'm aware that I have days where I just work like just all consumingly on it, just doing that, and working really hard and making a lot of progress and doing it, but really kind of quite wearing myself into the ground and then being exhausted. I'm concerned that I can kind of, pardon?
May I reflect back?
Yeah.
I can see you yawning and see you're tired, and also that you were listening to the things that we said and that made you think of how you're quite engaged with the activities that you've been planning, and you've been putting a lot of energy into them, and quite focused in making progress. At the same time, you feel quite tired, and yeah, there's the energy is being poured into something, and then where is it there?
Yeah. I guess I kind of wish I'd like to find a way to do what I'm doing in a more kind of wholesome way, where it's more balanced and I don't have to work so kind of frenetically. But I feel that I kind of feel very much that I have to find a lot of energy to make it happen, because I'm involving or getting a team of people or different people together to help make this project happen. But I wish I had like more of an ally with it, and I had the energy overall to develop it in a more sensible way for myself, and that I could work on it more sensibly than I do.
So
yeah.
So I hear you say that you wish that you'd find some form of balance, a way of using your energies where it would be more sustainable and less hard on you. But then at the same time, because of what you're organizing, it seems like you're activating a lot of people. And to be able to do that activation work, that it's important that you're fired up yourself and you're fully on it.
Mm-hmm. And then I tend to feel kind of like I have a burst of doing a lot, and then I have to slow down because I just don't have the resource to keep operating at that level. And then I kind of feel guilty because I should be doing other things. I should be communicating with people more in between whiles, but it couldn't be so all-consuming.
I hear you say that you that there's some guilt there when you put your efforts in and you make things happen and there's progress, but then, you know, at some point there's a bit of a crash, and then when you are in that bit of a crash, you feel like you're not communicating with others as much as you should. You know, like,
and that's kind of like how I believe that a lot of this stuff and the feelings about it, when we consider the bigger, many of bits of this much bigger picture that we're trying to do something about or engage with, it's really isolating, and I get isolated, but I'm sure that, you know, I'm trying to kind of inspire or motivate or give other people the opportunity to be doing stuff. And I'm sure that we're all really isolated, but I just wish we weren't. I wish we were all more there and present and able to kind of step up and support each other. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to support and make things happen. But actually, I want support and other people to kind of step up as well. But I feel like I'm not really good at doing it. I don't have a very balanced way to do it. Okay.
So, and I heard you, you know, you were saying how how you feel that because of the scale of things, people, including yourself, end up feeling quite isolated, and you wish it wasn't like that, and you wish you could help out others and model it for them somehow. But at the same time, you wish that there was another that you could yourself lean into and not have to do it alone.
Thank you. Great. Thank you for listening to me so well, Marta.
Thank you. All right. Sophia, will you listen to me?
Yeah, I'm here now. Yes.
God, what a journey. Round one. So much was, you know, this is why I really believe that we must connect with activists all around these things, because I have people physically here, but it's still different. You know, understanding that if on one hand the scale of disaster is like huge, the scale of connection is also huge. Maybe, I don't know, I've not been on Zoom calls across the world before, you know, so it's all, there's a lot of negative, but then there's this positive side to things that we are forced, you know, we didn't choose to, but we're forced to connect with others to sustain ourselves in new ways.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of negative around climate crisis, but you can see now, maybe experienced it through this conversation as well, that it has also some positive consequences, like this talk and being connected with people around the world. And you said that you feel different being connected with people that you have there. And that are close to you, like physically close to you. And it feels different to be connected through this kind of tool and through technology with people that are theoretically more far from you.
Yeah. One of the, as you were, you know, saying that and reflecting that back, one of the things that came to mind is the idea of America in today's world that people in Europe get. you know, people like me that have my political and so on and so forth, is or might be, you know, what we get in the news and quite biased. And really, this is, it occurred to me, this is a magnificent way of actually making Europe see, or the world see, and vice versa, right? That we're actually human beings, and, you know, and maybe the people that come on the news aren't as representative of what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, you know, of course, people in an empathy cycle, it's a very biased sample itself, but still.
So while being here, you had this reflection that this empathy circle can be a great tool, anti-bias tool, because you actually meet and talk to people in a very very open way about what they feel, about what they think, and then you can change the image of a country or a part of the world that you had, that is based on news, that is based on non-personal perspective. It can be also a great tool in this direction.
Yeah, it's good. I've not been, this struggle of what to do with my time. It's like I'm living, the way I try to describe it with people that are not doing this, it's like I'm living on 3 separate channels. So when you said that, Sophia, it really, like, yes, I'm living on 3 channels. There's like the XR channel to do with activism and actions. Then there's the empathy channel where I'm trying to learn to facilitate these things and like try to provide this platform. And then I'm towards the end of my PhD in science, totally unrelated. And I should just be writing up. Like, my funding's coming to an end. I shouldn't be doing any of this. But because, you know, you sort of have to, because I can't just tell myself, well, I can do it next year.
Mm-hmm. So you feel like there are 3 channels that you live on in the same time. There is this channel of being an activist, XR channel. There is the channel maybe beneath that one, which is empathy culture, empathy circles, being a facilitator, these things. And there is this, you said like it's the lowest one, it's the lowest level of all, maybe because it's like a foundation of like it's founds. You said that your PhD is founded, so it's like where the money comes from. Maybe it's like kind of biased. Sorry, it's my interpretation. But you said, yeah, this lower level is your PhD, is your work, your everyday work, your research, writing up, and this is what you feel like you should actually be doing, finishing it up. And
when I said it, I wasn't, it's a really nice reflection that I did it that way. It tells me something, but I wasn't actually, you know, thinking about them as one above the other. But I suppose that is what I'm doing, because I should, you know, at the moment be focusing just on getting the, like, you know, I have maybe 3 months that I need to push and do it all the time, and I can, you know, I'll get a degree and maybe I can do something useful with that. You know, some people care if you've got those letters after your name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I should be doing just that, but there's a sense in this, it's like you almost, I think some of you said that, it's like almost you dissociate, because the information is so, you know, that is happening on all these channels is so hard to integrate, that it's like you're in a dissociated state where you only cope with so much at every moment.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I understood you right. That there might be something with how you put it, like the order of things, maybe of hierarchy of these topics. You are not sure about it, and you're thinking like this PhD thing is actually you feel that the time pressure, because you have like 3 months or something in which you should be actually finishing it up or like making a significant progress in doing it. And so you're kind of asking yourself questions like, what am I doing with this time? Like, how am I allotting my energy? Do I do it in the right way or not? Because they say PhD is important. Some people really value it high. It means something. Maybe I can be useful also in some other channels with having a PhD, maybe more useful than now. You're thinking about it right now.
Yeah. That feels really good, Sophia. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I think it's my turn, right? So it's by chance, but it really
Select
resonates.
who you want to speak to first.
Oh yeah, sure. I forgot because I'm in emotions. So Anne, would you reflect?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Welcome.
So what Marta said really resonated in me, because I think in a similar professional situation, because I'm also writing up my PhD and I should finish it up till October actually. So yeah, I know what time pressure is really, and I also have the same problems with like where should I put my energy most, what's most important. What is the hierarchy of the goals? Yeah.
I didn't quite hear the last sentence because I was going to ask you to pause.
Sentence? I'm still thinking like, what is the hierarchy of these certain channels that I'm operating within?
I didn't understand. What is the what?
What is the hierarchy? What is the which
hierarchy?
Hierarchy. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you, when you were listening to Marta, you found that you quite immediately you were dealing with your emotions about that too, because you're in similar situations, and that you have your PhD to be finished by October. So you understand these time pressures, and also that there are other things that you want to be doing, and deciding or choosing the hierarchy of those actions, or what you do is difficult, and it's taking your
Hello?
You broke up a little bit, Anne. So
did I?
At the end.
Sorry.
Can you repeat last couple of sentences? 2 sentences?
I heard that that deciding or choosing your priorities when you had various pulls on your time and your attention, and it is an issue for you. It's difficult to know what the hierarchy, how to work with that hierarchy. Maybe I misunderstood.
No. It's correct. It's correct. Thank you. Yeah, and I'm just observing actually how I feel with how the life is going by itself. Sometimes I let things go, let things happen, and I observe that actually I feel best. I feel like life is really beautiful when all of these things happen in its own pace somehow. like I'm doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and and that's fine. I don't know. It's my solution to deal with that. I think when I'm concentrated just on one thing and try to forget about others, I feel I'm really losing an important part of me. I feel isolated, so that's my strategy. That might be not really effective in terms of results in my work, for example, because it will probably be prolonged. It will be, yeah, I will not finish it in time probably, but for me, it's just, I think it's just best.
So I'm hearing that you're finding that life is best when you're doing a little bit of each of it, and you're enjoying and finding it satisfying, although you acknowledge that you're not sure that that's best because it was going to take you longer to do your work. But it sounded like you have really a clarity about how that feels, that you need that balance, and life is good when you can be doing that. Life feels richer and fuller.
Yeah. But in the same time, there are moments when I yeah, like I might need a moment right now to gather the thoughts.
That's fine.
Oh yeah, there was one thought that I had while you were talking, you were reflecting what I said, and I had this thought that when I do these little pieces of things, I have this feeling that actually what I'm doing, because I don't see the effects, so I don't see them that fast. So I'm feeling like what I'm doing is maybe not that significant. But actually it's not negative. Actually, it gives me also some kind of inner freedom that I'm not that powerful. I am not ruling the world. I am not also responsible for everything. I have this little time on earth and this little energy, and I'm doing what I can. I'm trying, as everybody probably, or some of us.
So I hear that you have a sense that it's more rewarding when you're doing these bits, and it's difficult for you to know how significant they are, but actually also that you feel more at ease with, because you know that you're just one person and you are doing something, and the fact that you are doing something and it's having some effect, it's good, and that feels kind of wholesome, being connected to that knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. I know the time is up. Just one little sentence. Can I? Just to thank you. Yeah, I think this this thought that I'm not that powerful makes me also reach out to other people, and this is valuable, I guess. Yeah.
So you're reaching out more because you know that you're not sort of very powerful, and that's making connections, and you're aware that it actually doing that is a positive, good thing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel heard. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Anne.
Who's next?
You select who you would like to speak to.
I feel like I've gone out of turn though. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Is
there's
that
no
right?
real turn. It's your choice, whoever
Okay.
to speak to, whoever you want. So it's, we try to have equal, everybody, we select
Yeah.
everyone per round, but it's not necessary. It's really your choice.
Okay. Okay, Heather, would you listen to me, please?
Button. Yes.
Heather? Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. Push the wrong unmute button. The fake one.
Okay. Gosh, it is quite different, isn't it? Like, I feel like I'm listening a lot to what people are saying when I'm being the passive listener. But when you're being an active listener, it is different. Well, obviously it's different, but just noticing that. This is good. Thank you, everybody. It's good to hear other people sort of how they're dealing with it, and the bits of connections. I'm finding that inspiring, and yeah, very, very useful and constructive.
Maybe I'll get in here during a yawn. It's right now you're balancing a couple things. One is this like kind of kindling of inspiration in this group, and you're battling some fatigue. You've got both of these going on, and these little these resonances with each person here and there matter to you right now.
Yeah, it really does. It feels really good. I'm feeling like there I am yawning away, but and I've just gone through a few days of just going for it.
You're making us all yawn with your contagious
Go
yawn.
ahead, yawn. Feel free. But I'm being tired by that. But I'm feeling like right now, being connected with you, that's energizing, and it's kind of, and it's like bringing light or sunshine onto the bits that's difficult, where it would be great if we were all connecting much better than we actually do in life, or that's what I think. I don't think it's just me that doesn't connect with people. I think generally we don't, and we all so need it. It's just life-giving, and I'm feeling like some of that life-giving here now, but also it's resonating with the work I'm doing and where I am connecting with people, and I'm sure those connections and the actions that we're doing together are significant, and like the doing of it together and the bits of connection. But somehow this makes me value and feel more at ease about that, and how I feel and think about it by myself.
Yeah, it sounds like this experience today, even though we're far apart, is helping you appreciate what you have and the work that you're doing with your local experience. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And that there's this deep feeling that connection is essential, and we kind of globally are not doing that well enough right now. But you're feeling more connected right now.
Yeah, and it makes me feel like what I'm doing is also helping them. It's being part of doing that and making that happen. So it's giving me a kind of like a buzz and an energy of what I'm doing. So it's kind of going to make it easier to get back in there and do it more. The fact that I'm connected a bit with you guys.
So your vessel's a little bit more filled up, and you're realizing that you're sharing your vessel with others, and that matters.
Yeah. I found myself this morning I came back home to where I live, and it's kind of like slowing down and other different sort of Extinction Rebellion things to do. And I also went for my swim. I went for a swim, which I love to do, and connected a little bit with people on the beach who swim sometimes, and some older women. And then I went and where I leave my things when I swim, in a fish and chip shop, and was introduced to a friend of my friend. And then he started kind of saying, oh, I was putting up a poster about an Extinction Rebellion talk. And so got into this conversation a bit with this guy about it. And he was very negative about Extinction Rebellion. And I actually found myself having I wasn't in the place to deal with that. You know, like if I'd been on an action and I was kind of my head on de-escalation and doing the right thing with him, I would have done better than I did. But I kind of was a bit impatient with it, really. And it's challenging when someone is sort of saying, well, we're doing completely the wrong thing. There's no way we should be disrupting people. And what we're doing, we're aiming to disrupt ordinary people, and that's not okay. You know, brief summary of it. And me saying, well, no, that isn't what we're doing. I understand that we are disrupting people in the process, but that's not what we're trying to disrupt ordinary people in their lives. But, you know, that it was just, that he had no slack to engage, but also I would have been better off just to listen to him and just to let him express what he thinks and thought. And that probably would have done more good than me, doing what I actually did do.
Saying your piece. So yeah, you're having a moment reflecting on this experience this morning where you had this lovely swim at the beach with your peers, and then this experience where, had you been in a different personal space, and also with hindsight, you might have engaged differently, more usefully. And yet I'm definitely have the sense that there's just reflection on that. You don't appear to be beating yourself up about it. It's just, this is how it went, and I would do this perhaps differently next time. I didn't have the resources to maybe do what I think would probably have worked better.
It was just, I had a really interesting conversation yesterday with someone who was arrested, and her husband is not behind her. She's pleaded not guilty, and he's annoyed and he's cross, and it's an issue, and they're dealing with it and working with it. And we had a really, really useful and interesting conversation around that, and how it's kind of like with other stuff I've learned in Extinction Rebellion, that like conflict is fine and it's good, and we need to allow it to be there rather than pretend it's not. And when you do, then you've got the potential for growth and much deeper connection. So our conversation was kind of about that, and that kind of echoes into this sort of not very important interaction this morning, really.
That was the time, 5 minutes. So just
sorry,
a quick reminder.
I went over. Thanks.
If you want just a quick ending reflection. So.
Sure. Yeah, so it sounds like you're putting this experience this morning in context of your overall value and appreciation for conflict and what it can offer you and us, that offers potential growth. And this morning it was just a small piece of the fabric of the quilt of connection that may still have a little hole in it, or something like that. Crazy metaphor, lost my mind.
Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Well done.
All right, Edwin. Ready?
Listening.
Okay. It's funny. I was not going to be on this call, except my computer reminded me. I had it as something that was happening, and if I was available, maybe I just check it out for a couple minutes. And for real. And I was like, oh, it's from 1 to 3 my time. And then it became very clear that I had committed. Once I started, I was going to be in. And this topic, if you can, lower it to such a word, is obviously near and dear. It's something I think about every single day and many times a day. And not just extinction, climate crisis, but also empathy. And so I'm reminded, like I think we all are, of all the ways that we can resonate and connect with each other, and the power of just listening. I had a moment this morning. Let's see if I can say this concisely. There's a woman whose dog died, and she wanted to walk other people's dogs because she doesn't want to hike in the woods by herself. And so I thought, hey, let's hike together. And anyway, so we set off, and we seem to have many things in common. She's in her early 60s. That part we don't have in common, but and about an hour in, I start to tell about my project, which is using virtual reality to cultivate empathy and compassion. That's my mission. I was given that mission in the middle of the night by a voice a couple of years ago, and here we are. And I'm moving forward now pretty intensely on it. And anyway, so I started to bring it up, and I said, well, you're not a Trump. I'm assuming that you're not a Trump voter. And then which was maybe dangerous, but I mean, I live in Georgia. But then she responded in a way that I thought she was working with the Hubers, like, oh no, I think he's doing way more good things than bad things, and And then she said, well, I'm pro-life, which then occurred to me that she was indeed a Trump voter. And I just kind of shifted to how bad our Congress is and how our representatives don't necessarily feel like they're representing their constituents, rather their pockets and stuff like that. And so we just kind of pivoted at that point. And I have lots of thoughts around that and around climate crisis especially.
Can I reflect that?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so see, that was quite a bit. So yeah, to begin with, you weren't quite sure about joining this group. You know, there was this reminder came up. You started checking out, but once you got involved, it sounded like you were kind of like hooked. You said, "Oh, I'm going to keep doing this," and then it resonates with two things that are important to you. One is the climate change, which you think a lot about, as well as empathy, and that you're doing some empathy and compassion virtual reality work, and we're talking with your neighbor about about Trump and politics, and it seems like she was maybe on the other side of the political divide from you, and so yeah, that's kind of what I was getting so far.
Yeah, sorry, I get a little excited. Yes, and in that, so I've done a little bit of NVC stuff, like was in a group for 7 or 8 sessions. It was a small informal scenario. And I joined it because I wanted to be able to have conversations with Trump voters, for example. And I had this moment earlier, or after this emerged, this knowledge about this woman emerged, where I'm like, okay, this is a gift from the universe, if you will, to not in a bad way, but to challenge it. Like, how can I just want to understand? How can I sit in that space of just wanting to understand when I have so many feelings? I'll pause now.
Okay, so you're talking to someone who's on the other political side from you, and you're just thinking of how can you really listen to them, and you've had NVC experience, and so maybe have a little bit of experience with listening, even though you have all this that you really want to say. burning the say, you're just looking at like, how can you really listen to the other's side, like a Trump supporter.
Yeah, and I was in this, it was interesting because, and I just read this, I read Zaki's book on empathy, which was awesome if you guys haven't read it, Jamil Zaki. And often when we're on social media, the first thing we see about people that we don't know are their political perspectives or things that don't necessarily resonate. Sometimes they resonate a lot and sometimes they don't. But in this situation, we met on, we love dogs and we love hiking and we have these other things in common. And she's a kind and loving person who helps out homeless people, like that sort of thing. And it was so interesting to have this big space to connect with someone and not go there and not have gone there and not have that be the platform of how we see each other. And that was a really important reminder for me that, yeah, even though it's, yes, we all have places where we overlap.
Yeah, so you're seeing that there's these political differences, but there's a lot of areas where you overlap, like with this person, like in talking to her, you could see you overlapped in terms of love of animals or dogs, as well as you just heard about her work that she does to help other people and the homeless, I think you were saying. And so just other, so you could see that the importance of listening to people and seeing, getting to know them and seeing where your lives, sort of overlap. And that was 5 minutes too.
Yeah, and in conclusion, can I conclude?
Yes.
Yeah, I really want to stay aware, like mindfully aware of how, I feel like Marta said right in the beginning, like, how am I going to show up? If we end up in scarcity, who is the Marta that I'm going to be? I want to be that person that I want to be. I don't want to be scrabbling for scraps, is where my brain went. And like when I'm with people who aren't on the same page as I am, I really, really want to show up, especially when it's hard, in the listening space and not the telling them why they're wrong space, or why I think they're wrong, of course.
Yeah, so just for yourself, you don't want to be in sort of this mindset of scarcity, constriction, judging people. You want to be in an open, listening, sort of relating mindset. So those are kind of values that you have.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll speak to Marta. Is that?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is a lot of things coming up, a lot of thoughts. The first thing was Zofia was mentioning, I really like that concept of the lens that we see through. There's this environmental lens, which is kind of bleak in some cases, or hopeful. So I guess I want to kind of look at that lens. The lens that I'm trying to look at is the empathy lens. So kind of relate to life through that empathic lens. I'll start there and pause.
So there were a lot of things that came up, a lot of ideas that are present, and one of them is you were interested in the concept that Sophia was talking about of the looking at the world through a lens, and that could be the environmental lens. That could be quite bleak, but you were interested in looking at things through the empathy lens.
Yeah, it seems to overlap with what Heather was saying about judgment. You can look through life through judgments, right? Which is also counter to an empathic lens. And it seems to me that the empathy lens sort of relates to all relationships. So Zofia was mentioning her relationship with her grandmother, right? So that can be an empathic relationship. Heather's talking about her relationship with her neighbor, and that can be empathic. So I really see this empathy as sort of this lens that I'd like to, that I've been working at. even got a t-shirt for it. So it's the lens that I'm really trying to look at life through.
So I saw your t-shirt there with, you know, where you sort of wear the empathy badge, and you were interested in the looking, you know, through the empathy lens at relationships, and you were mentioning Sophia's, you know, about her grandmother, and Heather as well, talking about relationship, and it's just this idea that every relationship can benefit from that angle.
Yeah, and it's the same with the relationship towards the planet, towards nature, that we can empathize with our environment, with the animals. So it's living a more empathic, you know, sensitive a life. So, yeah, and I was also hearing about isolation. You know, you can kind of feel isolated if you're kind of an activist, you're working really hard, and you get kind of this constriction, maybe isolation. Again, that's where the empathy comes in, is, you know, when we hear each other, it kind of opens up the doors and takes us out of our isolation.
Yeah, so you were saying about how it can open you up, empathy, and get you out of you know, people that are not in connection, how it can get people into connection, and how in a way it extends not just to individuals, but also feeling that for the planet, feeling that for the environment, and for everything else around you. Yeah,
and that's what we're trying to do, is bring that mindset into XR to make sure that has a voice. And it does, it sort of has a voice, but there's other voices of, hey, we got to, you know, crack some heads or whatever, you know, maybe authoritarian. So I do want to advocate within XR for this empathic voice. So that's kind of like the work we're doing in this, you know, in this work group, is be sure that we have that voice in there, and even if there's conflict with sort of the authoritarian voice, that we, you know, that I try to empathize with that voice too, and bring that voice into a dialogue.
Yeah, so you feel really strongly that this work is important in general, but also particularly within XR, that there is, you know, there's this worry that there's a potential for violence there, and people are very focused on the activism side of things. And you think empathy is already a part of XR, but you want to ensure that it's there for good, and that it's also used in conflict resolution as it arrives.
Yeah, so I see it that we need to make the case for it. You know, we need to articulate why it's important, what we're doing here. This is recorded. You know, people have said, hey, I saw these recordings and I really appreciate it. So this is a way of getting the word out. So it's one is sort of making the case, the arguments for it, as well as having the experience of it. So when people sense it, feel it, you know, that's really important, that they're feeling that sense of connection and being heard and understood.
Yeah. So what I heard, and correct you if I'm, you know, interpreting, but is that you have a sense that you want it to be secure, that this empathy is integrated in a very secure and resilient way within XR, so it's not going to be lost, and that to make sure that happens, you feel it's very important to have these videos that people can actually look at it and you know, get the idea of how it works and learn from those, on the side of also, of course, experiencing it in person.
Yeah. So yeah, and the other part I really appreciated was Anne talking about it being constructive and energizing. So when we hear each other, there's sort of an energy and a, you know, that comes forward. So I think that's important. Another positive thing.
Yeah. So it's also about the energy that one can derive from taking part in these circles, that it can add some juice.
Yep, juice. I feel very heard. Thank you.
Yeah, Heather, would you?
Sure.
Thank you. It is very energizing, but I think it's also tiring. Because I suppose, in a way, it's like a meditation. We actually stop. Well, I can't speak for others. I actually stop and take stock of where I am. So excitement comes up, but also the tiredness and the. So I was really, when Anne was yawning, I was like, yeah, no, when given the permission to actually yawn, it comes up. And sharing that is really good too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's, again, another paradox of the experience for you is when you stop to breathe and connect with how you're feeling, there's energy required. And there's an energizing component to it. And also a third hand, some freedom to connect with that fatigue and accept that this is a tiring experience kind of overall.
When I think about the, this XR fears thing, one thing that came up when, I want to say it. When Anne was talking about XR, I was like, oh, why am I not in the UK? There is a bit, because XR is just so strong over there. And so I suppose in the hope scenario, I hope that we get to make it big here in Ireland too. And if not, we'll all get on the ferry and go across. But yeah, so I suppose that's on the hopes side.
Mm-hmm. There's some longing to have that vigorous community where you are now. And you just might have to make it happen if it doesn't come to you by going over there.
Yeah, so because the UK has a very established XR, here in Ireland it's not like that yet. We're working very hard. There's this to prepare for October. I fear it's all these things that we need to get done between now and then. We need to have the first aiders, and we need to, because I'm in the regenerative culture side of things. So, there's a sense of responsibility when you activate people, but at the same time, are you going to be there for them? When you are blockading, when you are doing whatever you're doing, are we going to, because this all looks very nice on paper. That's what I'm thinking, We're doing all these things to stay out of burnout now, in theory. But there's this fear that will we actually do it when we're there physically, day after day? Will we be able to take care of each other? And will we be able to do the planning that needs to go into place between now and then, so that all those little details work out? Like grown-ups.
Yeah. Did you say something about grown-ups?
Yeah, that's what, like grown-ups.
Yes, right. Can we show up? Yeah. Yeah, you're wondering if this brilliant plan on paper, when the rubber hits the road, what's that going to look like? And I think I'm hearing a little bit of, I'm part of this, and can I show up to make sure that rubber hits the road the way we want it to hit the road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the regenerative culture, it's so nice to have it as a principle. But it's a lot on a to-do list. If you're planning an action, it's a lot of small things on a to-do list. The food and the heat and and checking that people are okay. And I worry, for example, we're going to be in a big city. What about the homeless people? What about the people that have an addiction that they live with, that are going to be overlapping with us on the same roads? Are we going to prepare that? This is what I mean as a grown-up. Will we actually, prepare so that we behave as, that we can at least try to do things well? yeah, kindly.
Yeah, I can hear it in your heart like this. There are vulnerable people we need to plan for and to prepare for and take care of. And do we show up? How do we show up? And how do we plan? How do you and how do we plan to show up to take care of them? There's lots of little things to be done.
Thank you. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have about time for a 3-minute turn before we have to join the larger group.
Okay. Let's see. Sophie, Edwin and Anne and Marta just talked. How about Zofia? Oop, I'm trying to unmute you. It's ridiculous. It's your job.
Yeah, I unmute you. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. Where am I right now? Yeah, I guess I'll just share my appreciation for everything that each person said. Like, I'm going to be chewing on this for the rest of the day and force my wife to have a conversation about it later. And thinking about, and also reading about XR and how I can maybe serve it and be a part of it. Pause.
Okay, thanks for pausing. Yeah, you feel there has been a lot said here, and there are things that you have to chew on, maybe today, later in the evening, and also invite your closest person, your wife, to this conversation, to have somebody to have this conversation with, and maybe also learn more about XR and other stuff, so make a little research and stuff.
Yeah, I think my to-do list just got longer, and that's okay. But I'm really grateful for the community today and the perspectives, and it's, you know, nourishing my heart and my energy, and my commitment to NVC and empathy as a lens. And really kind of thinking about how to have those conversations, you know, like you mentioned with your grandmother or not grandmother, how to have those conversations in ways that work for people, instead of feeding my need to talk about it, or my urgency. My sense of urgency gets in the way of having those more effective conversations. And I need to think about that more.
Okay, so you feel a lot of appreciation for people here, I guess, for us all, what we shared, and you feel like there is in you even more energy to get into nonviolence movement and empathy and all this. It's like you feel empowered in this direction. It's growing in you, this appetite for knowledge about that, and in the same time you feel there is this urgency in you. There is this energy might become too violent. I don't know if it's the right word, but too strong maybe, and it might get into putting it into practice, although actually this energy in you is also a positive stuff, a positive thing. But it can grow too much maybe.
So we'll need to end it there. Just going to be closing the rooms, returning. We have about a minute before it automatically throws us in. And so thank you everyone for this part. Really enjoyed it. Yeah. Hey. And you can click on the return to the main session too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The others should be popping in any minute.
Okay. Carolina, Veronica.
Okay, let's see. So we're going to stop the recording and then we're going to restart it again and have a separate clip. So if you don't want to be recorded in the next part, we're going to have a sort of a debrief. Then it'd be a good time to kind of drop out here. But see, stop recording.